So like the thing that brain machine right now that like the mini mind player might be having extreme limitations to its like power when compared to like the power of like the original giant mind player in like the battle world. It's definitely the direct might be the reason definitely the direct and this might be the reason for like the like release by like 11 basically at the event asking Billy was it so then this as well might be the reason for the head of even having to like ask that such a question to like really might be most likely to be definitely they are being unlike in like the past while that with that while like the giant mind player or the giant mind player had taken control of that all the faces monster was the last that back then while it was they were all connected by that they were all connected like and the present in the case of like the mind players that mini mind players that control that understand that the situation would be that the mini mind player neither will be not have a fully connected that. So with all this that group of that integers, this that group of that in the company that is being the mini mind player have certainly like the person like none of them will be that connected at all. So certainly my person by all of them would be supporting itself like the mini mind player still none of them would be connected at all. The limit direction. So while Eleven had done all that damage to that thing in that fight against Leslie, uh, this might be the reason for that head up not even appearing to be that even remotely injured at all. Neither head up nor like the remaining even members of like minimize player not seeming to be after like the might be due to this reason like there won't be that connection between them while at the same time they would all be taking orders from like the mini mind players as like it's less of one it might be the accuracy of the execution certainly not the direction and I'm also putting that among like the multiple limitations that the mini mind players will be having in its power like so there might be also that limitation where like the mini mind player that we even after like take control of that we might certainly not be able to like see what Philip sees and that feels what he will feels. Might be also the case certainly not correct. So that as well might be part of like the power limitation that the might player might be having is definitely might be very important. So Michael Korean mentioned that while 11 in like the past had closed left the age to like the pan goal at that point I'm saying while like the mini mind player had been removed from its like control for the field at that point like the scenario might have been like the moment that the mini mind player at that point might have been really attempting to like get that and merge with like the original giant mind player from like the band what might have been the case with the field of the and like the giant mind player might have been communicated and might have been once like the mini mind player might have been removed from that as well. At that point, like the giant mind player as well might have been able to like sense that and might have to be communicated to like the mini mind player to like to as soon as possible to like make it towards and merge towards like the giant mind player because of like the situation with like 11 trying to like close the gate might have been like the case back then might have been what might have been the actuality of that such secret communication might have been going on between like the mini mind player and like giant mind player during that point might have been the case that anyone for anything. So that like from the giant mind player point of view that it might want it might have had that decrease in its like thought it for strength due to it getting split up with like the middle mind player. So definitely like let's talk 11 from closing the gate that the giant mind player at that point might have been the threat to like have a to merge with like the mini mind player so that like the giant mind player will be might have felt that like that might give it like enough front to be able to like prevent 11 from to stop 11 from closing the gate might have been enough the like giant mind player like parallel might have felt this definitely not correct. So like the scenario might have been once like the mini mind player might have made it to points of energy level and might have gotten so extremely close towards like the date, towards like almost like making it towards the date when Ambedkar might have been when like the mini might have made it towards almost towards like the date but and might have even seen 11 like trying to close the gate. But like it might have been at that very last second that like 11 might have succeeded in like closing the gate and like the mini mind player as well as like then original mind flower like getting separate might have happened for certain and but you know the variation. Yet like and even at that point like the mini mind flower like even though it might have been extremely enraged at like 11 was right there that might have been the case and yet like the mini mind flower without like it access to like the giant mind flower uh, uh, communication and powers like might have been might have been like scared and like powerless to at that point attempt to that straight away attack for like take or 11. Might be that like case definitely my preference. Yet like for the many mind player with like actually the store like 11 might have still been followed 11 to that point that might have been the case definitely my preference. So like this might be how that comes to the moment of mention that like this might be how like the back when that 11 in like the past was like dancing with might at that snowball dance place that the fact that like the giant mind flare in like the paddleboard was like wasn't right there at like the paddleboard right there where like that snowboard that building was that is being that as well might have been due to like this mini mind flare that kind of that communicating most likely through frequencies inaudible to humans which like might be audible to only like the giant mind flare in like the paddleboard and so that's like the mini Minecraft might be the case with the minimum. So like such, so like the mini Minecraft, which might have been doing that and that time might have been after like from like the point where like 11 cut close the game to that snowball dance point, like the mini Minecraft might have been constantly steadily following 11 around, might have been the case with the prevision that the mini Minecraft might have also consciously prioritized so much that like it might have consciously while when following 11 might have done so in an extremely stealthy manner and by ensuring to that turn it like to like dormant state while stealth and that basically follow 11 so that like no one not even will be able to like sense the presence of like the might might have been the case of Minan Prayer. Maybe the reason for that, according to Michael Graham, that during that snowball times, like, in terms of interpreting that it might have been like the mini mind prayer frequency that it might have sent to that the conductor is virtual at the paragraph, which that the giant mind player might have picked up, might have resulted in like the giant mind player at that point itself, like being present at like that snowball that's placing at the paragraph. That might have been the case that you know, in get like the fact that like as well was like present in that snowball dance. Yet like the fact that like will in like the present can sense when like the mini mind players like opponents like near fight the fact that will back then in like that snowball and students and that for like the mini mind player even though it might have looked near fight some of that might have been due to like the mini mind player like in fact would and calculating man of like uh following 11 around back then might have been the case while like putting itself into like dormant state of that by following 11 around might have been the case definitely not the preemption. So the believe that way that by now that the mini mind player might have then back then itself like might have by following 11 now around like it might have already found out like the place where like 11 stays like Hopper's house where like 11 stays and that 11 that is different being like might and all the like where 11 usually hangs out and everything might have been like the case of Minos like according to my presentation that most likely it might be not likely due to that limitation in that when you might players like power that like different that even after like the mini mind player had that taken control over the league that still that the mini mind player that might have also assigned that even while keeping believe the task to that expand with the that human army that is even at that point like the mini mind player might have also given another task for like it as well. And it might have been to that locate this the 11 as well who had this vehicle. But it might have put in as well like this might be one thing that like on the different that the mini mind player might have given us like that has been high priority of like a command like of like an emergency command that like the mini mind player might have already revealed that it will be given to all with like human army subordinates which will be there one of that there it will be their name with the target. It will be that their name with the target like 11 but like currently they are the army is not strong enough. So for them all to that patiently wait until they are strong to that and bring down 11 and that eventually take control of that 11 and that will be like that milestone in the ultimate goal of that minimize the kind of that army. So that way after like taking control of 11 that so that like they will be able to create by controlling it on the area of like create like as many gates as they want with the along the lines like the mind player might have revealed all this to like all of it like human army members might have been the case. So like all of it like human army members might be even while they won't be knowing what like elements like the top like they might be knowing that like this person is that are responsible for like closing investigation and the possible like the ultimate major issues of target. might be the case that he might have been able to. So according to my information, those like it might have been only once like the moment that 11 had basically through accessing that the last word had basically searched for and located actually through that the last word that it might have been only at that point that actually might have even realized that what 11 looks like suddenly might have been able to. So because at that point since I think that Illy was at like that on where like the mini mind plan was like it might have been after like Billy had seen element that looking at Billy spying on Billy through like the dark void. At that point is when I'm looking for that uh, at that point I'm looking for might have been when that the mini mind player might have told Billy that is with that this is that the girl who closed the gate versus their main target. 11 would be along the lines like the mini mind player and that might have even both might have been the ways that we are referring to both. Definitely at that point itself like the mini mind player might have even told to me that it listens like the latest individual that we had like affected was like Heather. So definitely that the without the curated event might search access once again through the dark web might search for like Heather. So that before that the mini mind player might have told me about this plan to put that specific thing so that like the would and Heather would be able to like see what Eleven actually looks like face to face. Might be that what that community might have told us that plan with actually, and that way it might have been that how that by Eleven had basically searched for that Heather, like basically Heather had basically performed that big I think that was in trouble and that will have lure 11 to that I think that Heather's home and basically that way so that like Heather and Billy would like only see in real life face to face like as to like what the actual main target looks like might be the case is definitely might be and this might be the reason for that even while so after like 11 reason that while the billion that has basically affected those like parents like basically the fact that then still keeping away from that even attempting an attack or like an abduction on 11 might be due to that fear that like the mini mind player would be having that like even if that's possible because it's from so like definitely the mini mind player might have given strict orders to that to and will follow with like certain famous army that they have to all wait and expand their army and usually wait until they are strong enough to that bring down 11 and up at 11. Might be along the lines of like the command like the mini mind player might have given to that to the other might have been the case by the player from the web of redemption, though recurring that in the case of like the mini mind player, like and even after like the police fight against like 11 like and even certainly the mini mind player might have definitely know what happened that with like the damages really might have taken step minimum redemption that I'm something also because like in the case of like the mini mind player like and like as to like how it takes control all of like it's like human armies like and it might be through up like the humans will be getting affected by like the mini mind flare like and gets controlled by the mind flare like at that point I'm like might be like the like it might be like unique individual cells of like the mini mind flare that will be present within like each of like human army which will be having it might be having its own intelligence and yet like it will be totally having that allegiance to that the mini mind flare and that it will be yet like all this like cells of like the mini mind flare most likely might be present within that individual human army and it will be having its own intelligence to like react and respond accordingly. Might be the case of the human manipulation. So like this might be the reason for like why Mike and others that had tried to be in that persona like basically at that point that means that element of that the mini night player within Billy that basically using its own intelligence that it might have initially that honestly gone into like the dormant state and basically so that way to have like the actual Billy be played to like be let out of like persona so that like and it might have been that might have been like the initial strategy of that sense of like the mind player within Philly and like one it might have felt that that's why he wasn't working self of like the mind player within Philly might have went from dormant to like active stage and that according to my book Emerson like what might have happened might have been like that at that point like that in order to like solely not to like escape alone like might have been like the reason for like from that zone and from that building and from like 11 might have been like a sort of for like that individual cells of like the mind player within that belief with its own intelligence in its like attempt to like escape might have run back to like hacker stage and that way brought out of like persona room. And it might have been initially only focusing on trying to like escape from that building might have been the case might have been the character of the situation, remember, but not just like 11 attacking and that really like at that point I'm looking to that the mini the individual cell of like the cell of like the mini mind player within to need the intelligence black might have been finished only focusing on trying to like escape from that area, but like with like 11 as like 11 kept on attacking the need of that the 11's like sort of telekinesis powers. Like at that point of definitely proving that means only due to that fully being that the program of that maxing definitely 11 might have been seriously cutting back on that the full extent of that 11 sort of powers. But like I'm looking that at that point definitely the mini mind flare cells within like mini with its own intelligence might have assumed that like 11 might have or like the cause of that one here like 11 might have totally had like absolutely with like the gate after like 11 closing the gate like 11 might have not at all had any need to like use 11 like superpowers and basically that way like without using 11 like superpowers like all time like 11 might have gotten extremely weak 11 like powers might have been mixed and might have gotten extremely weak might be along the lines like the mini mind flare at that point might have felt and like it might have been that the mini mind flare cell within that mini might have felt and that way like it might have been that those cells might have been with its intelligence might have been surprised and that that way like it might have attempted to it might have actually at that point decided that to that to use Billy's front effect and it's like the mini mind flare cells that powers to that basically to only to totally attempt to like basically that offer and defeat 11 as well as like maybe attempt to like affect 11 might be of the lines which might have attempted to certainly manipulate and at that point might be when like 11 might have I think that well my percentage like 11 that will be that being forced to like bring more of the a bit more from 11's like to extent of 11's like power and that alone like probably that defeating might have been what might have happened. So like once that belief made it back to that bottom, like at that point I'm the different like definitely believe might have reported everything that has happened in like the fight between Billy and Leon. Might have to like the mini mind player might have been the case remember and at that point I'm between like the mini mind player as well might have probably assumed that like that might be that the character the person true strength of 11 might be the strength in which like 11 had struggled in her fighting and like that variance for might have gotten weakened or like the growth of like a single year might be along the lines I'm looking for right now like the mini mind player as well we keep assuming and that way like the mini mind player without realizing that pro of like the pro extent of like 11 of like getting confident and only thing that is me so that so that that contrary to that how big of like an army that like the mini mind player might have planned to like create before like attempting to that fight and bring down and take control of 11 like the mini mind player right now but maybe due to this like single fight between that 3 and 11 alone that can from that was something in that the mini mind player right now getting extremely overconfident and basically without much great delay that basically maybe attempting that to like, take control of 11 and at that point of the 11 that will be unleashing like the true extent of the 11 strength and at that point like the minimize player like certainly and painfully realizing the truth that like it's absolutely no match for like 11's like role levels of strength which by now in like the person would have even surpassed like the levels of strength that 11 had used had when 11 had that even forcefully stop the gate, stop and prevent that the giant organ mind flare from that from that beating the gate open by back when the 11 had closed the gate like the power the levels of point that 11 had back then like the level of point like when would be having like the percent would be really a lot greater might be that you're different situations that limit the rate. So like that way, like the minimize players like plan as well. That way, simply that product is like solely to like the minimize player like for content like during the scenario that I'm looking at right now and the range. So the mind player person like the mind player transformation of Billy as well as like the mind player transformation of like this product might have totally happened simultaneously solely out of sheer points alone and might not at all be connected to like Billy's like suffering in that persona might be that the different situations that me might compare, but like in the small case, like it might have been solely due to like the sedation effect, um, like parent of like after like a certain extent of time might be the reason for like slowly the mind players like get over like the mind player felt that the within like this sort like once again waking up and basically that way that the mind player felt that trying to take trying to go have enough of the sport go through that transformation and that way to like give the support and strength through that such a transformation to force Mr. the sport to like escape out of like the hospital might have been like the sole reason for like scroll as well simultaneously going through like the mind flare transformation exactly during that thing as well going through the mind flare transformation and which won't be at all or which won't be at all connected in any way. This definitely might be the impression and this definitely might be the reason for like that I'm sitting on for like head up like basically after like we must fight against like even asking the if it was her is definitely my reaction because like what Billy saw and what Billy felt by fighting off against like when that definitely that Heather wasn't able to like see what feel due to that and that will also due to like that interconnection in the case of like the mini mind like even after taking control of the human army like of its like human army like there won't be that interconnection between them uh to like the mini mind player might definitely be the case definitely necessary but that sitting on something I consider sitting on to that is with there might definitely be a secret energy in the body connected to that certain scientists that keep beneath like the more lines for things might be the case and like the stranger things with victim of this especially memory ambition and that definitely that was might be the reason for like it would be that and that secret energy level will be far extremely deep beneath like the mod might be due to that stealth being that much extremely crucial because like I'm looking like a lot of like noise and that vibration and everything might be happening that each time that complex machine would be getting operated to open up like the gate by the then might be the case that we might be premise. So like all that noise sound and like vibration and all of that will like not be able to be heard or like spread in like the surface in like the mods might be definitely the reason for like fundamental premission like that secret energy laboratory might be so far might be in that so far deep underground might be the case in human and hence might be the reason for like the with like the hope in which like Dustin and also are like dropping so far down like that elevator like basically I'm suffering right now would be that even though currently moving so extremely fast downwards like mechanically the speed gradually slowing down and basically that once like it would be reaching like that energy level with speaker energy level by then like I'm like the speed was able to reaching to like the point that would be that a very soft landing at like the complex elevator at like the energy level rate like during the scenario that I'm looking so like the new mandatory instruction right now is that basically the American purpose according to my book pension might be about 8% in this like speaker energy level rate like the special scientist again is like the mall in that Hawkins like they will be like right now on the thing they might be totally getting ready and gearing up to totally short to like the elevator which like would be like they might have stopped on purpose and I'm looking like the exact location where like the stop elevator is will be the exact location where like the secret kind of the lab as well might be definitely might be the right person. So like definitely like the Russian force might be only getting ready to like basically to like gear up and basically to then open so to like the elevator and open like the elevator and basically straight away like in person like it's straight away in person like Dr. Steve Robin as well as like Erica. There's like the might be the case of human favorite. So definitely that and I'm wondering that I'm still thinking about the temperature once like they would be thinking to just like in some kind of like room for like interrogation like at that point I'm definitely wondering like that very same role on the different definitely for there to be that and then owns as well. It's definitely my theory and that theory one. So the female friend is for like the person for like also bring blindfolds as well towards like the elevators like the scenario that I'm doing. So like that way like can differently them even first like blindfolding that coping skill just as well as Riga and then that will be taking them towards like that interrogation room and I'm whispering like while they will be taking them to that interrogation room, I'm whispering like definitely like all of them like walking past like that highly complex machine that like the reports like the Russian scientists used to like open up Medicaid. It's like the scenario that I'm thinking about. Okay. Yeah, like I'm looking for maybe Ricky alone still with that absolute still managing to that briefly like for a moment still head and basically barely managing even through the that way even through the blindfold like barely managing to like see just see that complexity for like just a brief moment before like the Russian book will be noticing that and like quickly tilting back that Erika said it's like the scenario that I'm looking at Erika saying about all this violent extreme progression from that Erika saying telling Steve and talking about that doing the black conversation and politics is like the scenario that I'm looking at definitely I'm also talking that neither province as well might have might have been that brought to that bring progression for from the while in blindfolds might be the case. So like not even Owens might have seen like this like complex machine, but like hearing that like the record you're reading about that scene like complex machine that comes putting that at that point that Owens will straight away come to that conclusion that like so that machine might be the reason for that all the magnets acting strangely also like around something kind of things like the scenario that I'm basically like and what's the reaction. So that definitely my reaction right now that when you due to that client that calling someone that and look at that someone might definitely be like person to send a movement. So they might have been alerted about like anything that happened and for finding out and this way for uh, heading over to land analytics. So that might have been what might have happened. And so definitely at that point, from the like, one of like the Russian spy agent that can like who might be present in that uh, land area, like who might be that in charge of that guarding that area and ensuring that absolutely no one goes up there. That person like I'm different like after like uh, getting this like message I love like I'm like he might have totally straight away gone up to one of like the house there and might have turned on the light to that in that house and basically that indicates when that's like outside that house like I'm different that might be totally meant for like to totally up like for to like totally up that links when part outside that house might be totally meant to like totally have that laptop as well as chosen to take them to either like runners that have to sell to like either runners energy laboratory and from like the energy laboratory of like orange like from there from like that underground one of like the underground tunnels upside down tunnels like from there like I'm looking at that navy that's like one of the that tunnel like is going all the way up to that underground, stealthy underground energy laboratory of like the Russian scientists that which might actually beneath like the model of it. And that way, through such a manner to like abduct and take out of as well as those and put them prisoners in that stealthy energy laboratory beneath that model of it might be left it is like only one possibility that I'm doing, or like the possibility that I'm doing is for like giving the scenario to be that white pop and Joyce would be inspecting that and exploring that house of that test I think that basically. At that point, definitely I'm considering like a Russian spy agent would be hiding that to be something or is your foreign and Hopper and basically attacking Hopper and Joyce. At that point, like using that links when like where like I'm looking that he would be most likely like putting on a blindfold for as well as like a mouth strap for like both or as well as like the scenario that everything and then using that when links when like taking abducting Hopper and Joyce and bring them to that the mall in like Hawkins to that exact location where like that exact elevator is and basically through that elevator like bring Hopper as well as abducting bring Hopper as well as Joyce to like that secret energy laboratory of like the Russian scientists and that way like I'm going to bring right now I'm going to bring like the scenario to be like in like that interrogation room like when already being in like an interesting kind of like state and like to that location without much great delay like the capture without much great delay Robin as well as like Steve as well as like Dustin and Eric are getting captured and sometimes being brought there into that interrogation room and like after them like when it comes to delay Hopper as well as Joes as well brought to that interrogation room and then all put along together in some kind of like state that interrogation is like the eventual scenario that I was, and that resulting in like them all eventually being able to like with that app system work together and figure out the ultimate strategic plan, and that way them managing like free themselves and basically being able to like stop like and destroy like that complexity is like the scenario that I'm about. And that's like the scenario that I'm describing as of right now, because like definitely I'm going to make a submission for the cutting for that definitely that when that pop-up had explored runners and appeal about the fact that like a Russian spy agent like that person who might be like a Russian spy agent that is just attacking Hopper and leave just like that like might be lead you to like Hopper in that position. What about position as like a police chief that is due to that appears that Russian spy agent might be having of like updating Hopper like setting in like attracting a lot of attention to, and that way like the stealth and cover like the most of the present of being born. But like I'm currently in like the person like I'm just bringing up like the situation would be like me for that silver fox to like field like for that absolute deadline like for that Russian scientist to like complete his like experiment that it will be also the same deadline of like that leader as well. The military leader as well might be the case in like the website frustrations. This might be the case definitely not framed. So for that deadline, like a that in like the present like a different either it might be this very night itself, like certain 12 a.m. might be last the deadline, or like a different just one more day, might be remaining for like the deadline might be the case certainly not really. So like maybe I'm also trying that there's like such a short time left remaining for like the deadline like I'm maybe due to that reason I don't like I'm definitely right now I think that should have really let me not only enjoy but like offer as well getting updated and being put into like an important kind of like state with like the blindfold as well as like the notes but in to like interrogation room in like that static energy laboratory with several times that we need like the knowledge of it like in scenario that is going on today. Like the name of the right now is that basically that there might be definitely that super connected to that particular course that is working on like the static underground that power lines that which will be from like the power plant all the way uh, to which will be extensively brought from underground like protected power plant all the way to the mall in like how it might be the case of implement them. So like it would be that it comes into like the symbols that working on like the power line, maybe using on like the power line or like saying things up on that power line. It might be that sound that like Joyce as well as Hopper would be hearing, and basically even that the light like glow. We know also that the stealthy underground upside down pathways like honeycomb like network pathways like throughout like through the area surrounding like Rangasana Villa was taken advantage of to that would be pulled that power lines from like the power plant and towards all the way towards like the more in that numbers might be also the case and then also I think maybe right now they might be also working on like basically like that's like the other possibility that I have to bring like because like I'm maybe for like the deadline maybe 2 days 1 day alone might be remaining for like the deadline might be that for of the person that might be like the remaining like the other possibility that so like so due to that reason alone maybe right now like maybe that complex machine might be as like a last effort like last attempt like understanding conversion science might have decided to that maybe move that complex machine from like the secret and of the laboratory which might exist beneath like the more in like Hawkins to from there to like move that complex machine to like the energy laboratory of like Owens and basically to shoot out like that complex machine the beam from like the complex machine to like open the gate exactly on the exact location where like the gate and where like 11 had closed the gate and like the past might be also like this might be also like that last attempt like the brains might be planning of like basically by if like the beam on the ground beam is sorted out exactly and like the location where like the gate one was present and then like they might stand more the chance of like being like open the gate might be around current maybe the representatives might be finding coming to that out of like exploration to like finishes like experiment and open the gate before like that like might be like the other possibility that I'm so like that way maybe the complex machine might be about to be moved from like the energy laboratory beneath like the mod to like the energy laboratory points might be also the integration also like about this side. So like that it's transporting of complex complex machine might be linked or like connected to like basically the current sound that like Hopper and like those are like hearing from that house of S, and basically the light glowing and basically them hearing sound of like um, sounds from beneath like and that might be like the power lines basically that it is connected to like it was like he's working on like the power lines for like by the time that the competition is shifted from like the energy level evidence like amount to like the energy level points might be that the case like other population that is the so for the time the person and taking the mind brain that like the Russian scientists like even to like the person might be probably believing that both Pranam as well as like element had got eliminated in like the past and is uh, so like basically so to bring that even like the Russian scientists like who might be known about probably knowing about like Pranam in like the past like having Pro 11 having often like the games within like 7-11 still they like that Russian scientists will be hopefully also believing that basically might have seen how the gates are closed in that turn of the level and that they might be totally of that runner and basically they might be totally believing that like that Russians might be totally believing that like the gates once open that would be automatically closing and that eventually might be along the lines on this current black and that way like an eventual automatic closing of that the gate might have been what might have happened in that runners energy laboratory might be along the lines of when like the Russian scientists might be willing to like represent like the future strength. It might be the case the human pyramid. So the like the human pyramid right now is for like copper alone to get affected like and then right now copper saving Joyce by like straight away telling Joyce to like go and hide and basically leave that house. That basically that way like could only be a secret fact of something and basically Joyce totally listening to like copper and basically Joyce totally leaving that, simply leaving that house at that point of that scenario that I'm looking at. Operan was bringing at that point would be pointing his black weapon at like those two workers that conflict Russian workers there and basically by the time that spy agent will be making it towards like Hopper at that point like I'm looking at Hopper keeping those two Russian workers like hostage and Hopper at that point I'm going to be threatening like the Russian spy agents with like the hostage and like Hopper at that point will be asking like the Russian spy agent to reveal like the truth like as to like what's going on and like to reveal the truth why are they like buying all this like land and everything and about like the conversation like what that has like probably even starting to like ask that Russian spy agents like different like him without even saying the word like on the thing like straight away would be uh, eliminating that the hostages and basically then uh, will be pointing back to the at like pop-up as like person out that I'm going to so that and think I'm trying to telling pop-up to that to drop pop-ups like person out that I'm going to so like I'm looking like pop-up dropping like the and yet like I'm looking like pop-up probably attempting to that bring down that equation like still I'm looking like him for me is the offering and repeating pop-up like the scenario that I'm looking and like him only affecting capturing and affecting and taking away from that scenario that I'm going to correct and like Joyce steadily from a distance would be seeing the like the scenario that I'm going to correct that way like Joyce that as would still would be and I'm looking like Hopper would be getting taken up after being affected like I'm looking like Hopper would be by that person by the like Hopper getting taken away to that stealthy energy level region is like the most likely um, by through that van to like the park outside tests of this like the scenario that I'm going to correct. So like I'm bring that choice to be quickly getting back home to lab. Once like probably taken away and the friend choice quickly getting back to taking Hopper's car and basically by maintaining a simple specific like still choice like steadily lag training that that van is like all the way to making it to like the mall is like the eventual scenario that I'm going to the right now and so like definitely not reaction right now is for like that the food pie is in that definitely circulating in like growing like at least one of like the tires of like focus before like just around that of to be managing to like escape is like the scenario that episode of like get like and I'm going to bring that should pie at that point of the that straight away trying to get on to this like bike, but like I'm going at that point, I'm whispering like in getting like surprise or like I'm whispering like before getting into like the car into this like car without only like storing like the keys and like the bike, which like the occupier might have carelessly left on his bike might be like the case like that's like the scenario that I'm looking that way like I'm looking like the occupier only fuming and like that will barely like hope and Joyce like what we managing to like give whether like the hostage is like doing just scenario that I'm looking at and my remember thing yet like I'm looking like at some sort of like at that one set like for like for a agent to like so we notice that things when once like park right there and they make him straight away that we're heading back to that underground area beneath that house and basically they're like that single hostage who's like still remaining in that underground area, like on different definitely like correction by agent like only untying him and basically asking for like the keys and basically keys to like the links one and basically him straight away giving the correction by agent the keys and at that one set from the point like by agent that basically eliminating uh that correction block of that one. So, like the and like straight away like taking the van and basically like chasing out for like the chasing after like the car, which according to my definition would be having like single blown fire in which like Hopper and Joyce and like the hospital which like the Windows scenario that I'm basically only kind of yeah. I'm totally different like by the time that sort of by it would be making it towards that Hopper's car like and something that definitely they would have made it to say you know they would have passed like the car from like the steady location and basically would have only get like certain extent of that information out of that diagnostic is like the scenario that is yet like I'm looking due to like like upon mental prevention so we're cutting like one of the tire of like of car like getting blown by like the person by agent like I'm looking that resulting in like even while George will be trying like the car getting a lot and basically that resulting in like maybe like a lot of tire on the road which like I'm looking like the which what I'm also trying like correct is spy agent like usually fundamental information by using that link when like to keep like following to that eventually make it towards that web to like the steady location where like so it will be parking like top of car so like the scenario that I'm looking at that point I'm looking at Joyce and Hopper like not being able to that outrun that the Rust by agent with like Hopper's car is like the scenario that I'm doing that way then at that point getting captured by like the Rust by agent then I would protect him totally straight away eliminating that offering of that offer and choice and basically the him that corruption by like straight away like probably putting hopper as well as close into that an important kind of like straight away offer and basically putting capturing offer as well as choice and putting them into that links plan and basically in a dialogue stage and then we like I think that they take the links plan to like pockets model like and that way through the model to like stealthy energy laboratory of the collecting time my execution is like more second the scenario that I'm looking for right now of trend. So that the minimum prevention right now is definitely for like that to definitely be purely is for like for car which like I'm totally putting lack of skills right now which is totally not realize it's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like even with the car path not getting flown like I'm still there to be purely case to probably happen during like that stack of interaction phase and then waiting that probably being like the fact that I'm totally prepping would be eventually allowing like the person by to be able to like chase after and catch up to like offer and joys to catch up to what like offer and joys and like the scenario that I'm global and correct. So that's the name of the mission right now that is like of like the entire thing of like the also of like the concept of like that you might have had like the habit of like phoning Jonathan early morning that to get ready for work most likely due to that Jonathan not waking up in time might be like the case definitely not the rapid. So the player right now looking for that the contour to be most likely not Nancy as he said might be the case will be along the lines like Jonathan will be might be assuming it's like the scenario that I expect and like Jonathan right now with that thing not only getting as attractive to Nancy that Jonathan having no the job like and totally preventing like Jonathan not picking up like the phone call that the scenario that happened. That way, Nancy not being able to that get that social information of that basically mind player like the Shadow Master once again that having made it move to that Jonathan. I'm totally preparing that to be like the scenario and basically like I'm looking like at that point like once like one member Johnson not picking up like the phone of like which might be from like Nancy and at that point I'm looking like Nancy will be feeling as if like basically do not rely on Black Jonathan anymore and basically to do things her way because of Black Jonathan not believing in that Nancy and to that maybe Nancy taking the decision to like not contact Jonathan anymore until unless that Jonathan makes contact with like Nancy to get on the line that Nancy and only at that point alone for like Nancy to like reveal to that Jonathan about like the Minecraft and make and made its move and everything will be along the lines of like the risk that Nancy will be taking because that might be very important. So like Nancy from this point on like the scenario to be like Nancy from this point on like basically doing the investigations of that the mind player like all by herself and the rats and everything like all by herself without like frequency like Jonathan and anymore at all. It's like or neither even bothering to like relate that personal information about like a mind player to like Jonathan user. It's like from this point on like the scenario that I for example but really when the emphasis is for like the office that you would get to like speak with and who might be totally figuring out but to take it in front of the top vendors might be that with the this minimal range. So definitely able to bring like without much delay and just bring like offer like probably uh, uh, with like already being angry to this like staff meeting family like like offer would be probably not sure in like the move or like wouldn't even having any papers at all. So like I'm like without much delay at all like like while Joyce would like Joyce struggling with like trying to communicate to like the hostage like without much delay like offer only prestigious and angry offer like that walking towards him and like pointing like to the weapon and like threatening him to like shortly reveal like the truth about like the things that's going on and I'm going like instantly able to bring like the hostage yeah and him like speaking fluent English at that point and like Joe's totally shocked and confused with like the image of scenario that I'm also going to break and not to them. But the thing right now is that is that Russian government might be right now feeling that and fear of like the possibility of like that Russian spy is catching up to him without him great delay. And at that point, that is if it's him all by himself, then in this like with this kind of situation, even being that of like the Russian worker, even being that of like kind of like a person. So definitely, if like once like the Russian spy agent catches up to him, like definitely at that point the Russian spy agent will definitely be eliminating will be along the lines of like that certainly of like different possibilities that I'm also from the Russian worker with your right now should definitely met preemption. So this might be the reason for like this Russian worker like helping offer and saving purpose like might be the case definitely might put the reaction because like from like the Russian worker point of view like one without a great delay on that you would think that without a great delay that spy agent would be showing up and at that point definitely offer manages to like take down like the Russian spy agent, then like he would be the Russian would be feeling that they might have a short and like survival. So we're on the line like the thing is certainly my mission. You getting that and his plan might be to like either like attempt to like trick off because like I still remember the impression that like when that Russian worker might actually English well especially my return and that Russian worker right now would be totally freaking plan currently might be to like only trick off and goes into like only eventually revealing like in the name of like revealing the truth to like probably say some sort of like a lie and hoping to like that way for offer into like freeing him might be along the line he would be hoping so that like people like they typically get back to that land that like the owner of the mall had bought and basically meet up with that other doctor who's like a witness to this like whole fight between like Copper and the Russian spy agent and like that other worker is taken off Australia. So to convince that other worker like who might maybe like should like he wasn't taken a hostage might be also the case with Lehman's privacy. So like that way to maybe convince that other worker to like to cover for him and to like totally like to like the higher ups basically that way to like about like at that point about like they'll make him pick the right spy agent, and that way so that like the air won't be finding out about like that other workers haven't been taken off stage. Might be along the extent like I'm when this mission worker might be thinking certainly one of the reps. So like definitely that this might be the reason for like I know say almost like it definitely might be the reasons that you remember that they might be reaction right now that might be right now totally planning on like this as soon as possible meeting up with that Ray Carroll, definitely Ray Carroll and they are bring that 11 after like sneaking out of that office home and they believe have meeting 11 in the past meeting areas as well as that meeting Candy as well as like Ray Carroll and everything that 11 kid after like sneaking out and coming back to that office home all of that, like I'm definitely putting that compromise out. Precisely gotten out even each and every single minute details from 11 itself. Like compromise out ensure to like get each and every single detail out of the 11. What that everything 11 did all the people 11 met and everything after like taking out like all of them. Definitely solely due to that extreme concern that like Copper has for like towards like 11 to ensure that to thoroughly ensure that Copper can so he keep 11 safe. Uh, but especially when premise so that it might be 11 that like I'm so like the way back then like I'm that was might have found out might be even to like the person might be totally aware of that carries presence and carry having like the telekinesis power same as like 11 and everything and also about like the Raker uh uh about like Raker as well Papa might be totally aware of it and like the person is definitely through 11 might be the case into like definitely I'm that with the hostage, with the Russian hostage, like different might be totally the reason for want to go to that you know it could be most likely to like meet up with like Ray Caroline to have that the through Ray Carol to like find out the truth and basically about like this like Russian hostage and so, like this whole Russian situation going on in like the town of Hawkins and everything to find out all that uh, through Ray Carol might be Hopper's plan definitely going to revision. But like I'm so different like two thousand is like either one selected definitely I'm putting like so definitely I'm putting right now for like scenario to be like proper to be still assuming that like while still assuming that like the person worker can't speak or like even understand English like I'm looking like offer probably right now to Joyce like totally revealing everything about like everything that 11 had done all the people that 11 had seen after like sneaking out of Copper's home in like the past about like careers and 11 meeting careers and Cali about like Cali as well Cali having like the same powers as that of 11 and about like right, all this like I'm right now Copper will be through that book like while they was like Copper revealing in detail to Joyce's like the scenario that I'm looking and definitely all this like I'm looking like that person worker while only putting honest like fake acting do not understand English at all. That would be carefully listening to all of that and he will be probably thoroughly shocked by thoroughly hiding like shocked facial expression that I'm making. So he'll be shocked. And it will be only at that point that I'm the like corruption worker would even realizing that like Seven is still alive. And about like the possibility of like runner as well being alive. Like basically this like a writer or has told 11 and carrying like the past like so all this like I'm the like quite carefully telling to so it's like I'm doing like the corruption work or then properly realizing like the scenario that I'm looking and that's like it's a the scenario that I'm so like that way like that Russian worker like shockingly finding out about all this crucial information and basically referring to what either like the Russian worker like literally costing like him for the using like the force like the stealthy situation of like the force to like at some point like totally escape while Hopper as well as George will be tired from on the walking like them taking a moment to like a step and at that point I was trying like all of a sudden like even while in this like I think that kind of situation like I'm still lab that person worker like totally running through like the box and basically in an unexpected manner and basically that way like I'm like manage to like hide and that way get away from like off and voices like the scenario. So that's one possibility that I'm looking at. That point I'm bring like that direction work through literally thing that easily if he gets the crucial information to like direction spy agent then definitely to either direction spy agent or to like that possible underground energy laboratory uh existing beneath like some more Hawkins more like they will give that within what was able to like, get that crucial information to either one of these two places like then definitely we will be like totally he won't be getting eliminated with the along the line like corruption worker would be thinking as well as like he would be totally getting rewarded for like giving such crucial information. Uh, Offering such a crucial information about like elements like not only about like element survival but also like the existence of carry as well and carry having that superpower exactly like that may be so. This will be along the line like some of the totally thing. Yeah, I'm still thinking about the break that like the deadline will be approaching so close that I'm wondering like only one or two more days might be remaining until deadline might be like the situation definitely for like that silver fox and like that I think also and everything might be the case in like the change of spring thing it might be the case definitely when the so like the situation will be that much crucial for like the Russian but definitely as soon as we get like the information of like 11 and Chinese black Russian brand black then they highlight for that to stack the Russian brand. So like I'm thinking like most likely for him attempting to like get that information to like to trying to like go up to after like escaping from the software and like I'm like the Russian worker trying to like go up to like the mall and get the information through like the Russian brands or like I'm also trying like him slowly picking up like using the phone book and basically trying to like form like that secret and available in like the more but like I'm just during this time I'm trying and I'm looking like in totally revealing just like crucial information about like there being yeah of like 11 and possibly maybe run up as well as like Cali as well being alive at like 10 times of that but like I'm looking the moment he would be like uh, succeeding in like revealing this like information to like Russian scientists like I'm most likely at that point would be when like that Russian spy agent would be finding that Russian doctor and I'm looking that without the created like for at that point like the Russian spy agent without realizing anything like I'm looking like would be straight away eliminating like the Russian doctor was like the scenario that I'm still I'm looking like that crucial information like through that Russian worker getting past to the Russian scientists who's like giving the scenario development and that way like so that way like the whole eventually coming to like the Russian spy agent to like totally to find 11 but like at that point still like as like backup like more Russian spy agents will be showing up to capture 11 and at that point I'm looking like scenario being like either might handle this like this uh attempting to like totally run and get away from like that chase with Russian spy agent and then totally running that resulting in like lead them totally while trying to like escape, like ending up deciding to like hide in that door of where like that where like the mini mind player and was like of that human are like present. So like that way like Mike and Eleven and all of them deciding to like hide there, but like and once they will be getting there, like and so that the fight that will be happening. Or like I'm assuming as they will be getting close to that where that Goran will be like and something like and I'm assuming all this happening in like the middle of the night. So at that point I'm assuming like the in like the middle of the night in that area like and like in the darkness like the mind mini mind players stepping out with like just like army of like humans to take on in a Venice that scenario that I'm assuming. So like that way like I'm assuming that the remaining like or the fight happening between like the remaining like spy agents and usually the army of like the mind players as well. And like I'm totally wondering like the fight happening between like the mini mind player and 11 and like the remaining bunch of like the army of like the mini mind player like the scenario that is happening. And by then like the scenario also being like 11 having used up a lot of like 11 super powers and getting a surplus. Or like I'm thinking like the scenario ending up being like with like Mike once again, Mike or like Mike most likely once again getting in from the China level. So also I'm looking for it maybe the surprise and terms of like Hopper and Doit happening and like that resulting in like the situation once again changing, but still able to like by then like the mind club army will be like extremely things that still like things are not working out in like favor of like Mike and 11 and still different scenario that I'm seeing. And once again like I'm looking at a situation happening where like the mind player finally the mini mind player like I'm sort of finding ending up okay or for 11 along with like army like the scenario that I'm 11 looking actually usually in that fight will be getting extremely exhausted after like literally use it like 6 hours and like I'm looking at the scenario usually ending up with like the Minecraft capture 11 and you'll be about to like take control of like 11 but like at that very last second is when I'm looking like the next surprise and will be happening and I'm looking like that to be like the surprise in terms of like Danny and like when that is over all again just like of Danny like the scenario that I'm doing and that way like I'm looking like Danny saving 11 using Danny's like telekinesis powers of like the scenario that I'm doing and Danny and example like would be giving that screen morale boost to like 11 and using like the combined strength of like Cali and 11's like telekinesis powers like I'm using tempo like fighting like the mind player together, many mind players together and taking out and destroying and eliminating the many mind player. Just like the scenario that I was delivering, and like the robber gang as well into fighting back against like the of like uh, against like the army of like my mini my players also like the scenario that in that way like I'm referring, still they were always struggling, but like once like 11 like the team of Cali and 11 will be taking out like the mini mind player like at that point once again like the control over like Philly and all of the army of like the mini mind player will be coming under just like the scenario that I'm going to make and my secondary ambition. So but to my secondary ambition for regarding like all this happening for such a way where like pop-up in that pop-up as well as the situation. I'm just bring that leaning more towards like the positive that either like pop-up and those like by the time they will be making it to decorator or like at that point it comes to open like dealing of the positive decorator or by then might be no more definitely one positive that I'm putting. Yeah, like pop-up enjoys like something decorator or still being preparing and something like then that decorator and then probably finding out process that basically and that way from and just having that sort of realization that basically that Russian that Russian worker hostage that they had would be totally might be totally knowing English and basically that way that conversation between the copper and those like copper revealing that all the things like everything about like Cali, about like Rachel, all about like the positive runner being alive and 11 as being alive and all like basically the fact that like that Russian worker can understand English. That will be along the lines of like that all the Russian thing that like for experiment of like that project of like runner and like the Russian uh, team and everything like basically all of them like the fact that have all of them like in order to like work together with like one of like all of them for me commutually having to know having to be able to like understand English will be along the lines of that the case will be along the lines of like an evidence like for a proof like I was on like maybe pop up and just like totally finding out that Hurricane is like the one positive that I'm referring for like the positive that I'm referring is for like Hurricane being alive and basically for that interaction like with like Hurricane like pop up and just like totally finding out about like uh, about like the adaptive like selection was part of like the black market experiment and everything like basically knowing being able to like understand English. So like at that point like Hopper and Joy is getting shocked and basically at that point felt like Hopper will be extremely worried for like Eleven's safety and basically that basically that at that point felt like Hopper and Joy should be it would be obvious for them that like basically so the by then like definitely that's supposed to be like coming out for like 11 to like after 11. So definitely Hopper along with like Joyce will be rushing out to get back to Hawkins to like save Irvine. But and on their way back is when I'm looking for that most likely pop up as well as Joy will be most likely running into like Cali and like the crop again is like the scenario that I'm looking for like despite sheer point to like the scenario that I'm looking and definitely I was bring like uh and definitely I'm also putting like even after like 11 in like the past like would have revealed all the things that happened after like 11 had sneaked out and basically sneaking break and all and like once like 11 myself revealed about Danny and like the thing that 11 had done along with like Danny like at that point it comes to the like once like 11 had might have revealed about Danny so like a person like at that point it comes to like that protective father instinct of like Hopper might have only kicked in and might have Hopper might have instantly told 11 to like never even go up to or like make any sort of contact with like Danny at all or even speak or like even try to like make any contact at all with like Shani ever again in like 11th life. And I'm looking like for from Popper's point of view that even more than Shani like reckless manner like using Shani like superpowers and that way drawing attention like what if that drawing attention uh, of like the of like the runners like remain scientists or like the of, towards towards like Cali and that way towards like eventually towards like Cali and that way through Cali towards like 11 like and that way through Cali like 11 eventually taken into trouble like even more than that like I'm sorry like for Popper it might have been that father instinct where like definitely Popper might have seen like the biggest issue that Popper might have found in like Cali might have been that how from Popper's point of view how much like a bad influence Cali had on 11 would be along the lines of like Popper might have just like Cali when 11 might have revealed about Cali to like Popper might be the game's definitely not the same. So like even after like going to Illinois like I'm looking like Popper would be definitely not even bothering to like to search or even make the like Cali a lot definitely not correct. So Get like I'm feeling like while Hopper as along with like Joyce like Hopper only feeling that fear of like the possibility of like 11 getting into trouble by like directed by agent. Like even at that in such a situation like I'm feeling that we Hopper to like know the search for like Cali or to like seek the help of Cali at all. So like the scenario due to like this like for reason of like Hopper of like Hopper, especially when so that way that yeah like I'm still while Hopper and I was like Joyce would be right back trying for to be a scenario where like by sheer points of like everything well for trying to be that rushing and trying to like return back to like hoping from noise like at that point by sheer points of like I'm like them running into a scenario where like Cali along with like the robber gang would be like would be that Cali would be using her telekinesis powers and like basically destroying top down and basically with van this would be also like ending up crashing like the scenario like yeah like I'm doing like Cali and like the robber gang totally like not taking any that damage at all like the scenario that I'm doing and at that point like I'm like offering an encouragement or like working towards like Cali and like telling Cali something along the lines of like Cali can do a sheep please in like noise but like to keep away and stay away from like 11 and okay if we along the lines of like about like a serious ways would be like only like in a threatening manner would be technically and I'm looking like at that point like Cali would be realizing that like pop up like that guardian figure of like 11 and everything so like I'm looking like Hopper at that point is going to bring like would be cutting off the black choice and I'm going to bring like that way like I'm doing like that eventual sort of fight scenario happening where like eventually I'm going to bring like even Hopper and Joyce like basically would be struggling and would be won't be able to like save 11 and neither might nor anyone will be able to like save 11 and as like the army of like the mind player would probably would be offering everyone at basically the scenario usually ending up with like the mind player like basically capturing 11 and basically would be about to take control of like 11 at that very last second I'm offering like definitely Cali and like the robber gang basically showing up to that exact code kind of location. It's where I'm definitely putting that final sort of battle will be taking place. That was another that I'm looking at. And I'm looking like the reason for that way the reason for like Gary and like the robber gang showing up being that being to that sheer coincidence of that robber and Gary ending up what my friends ending up running into each other in like Illinois and basically and that threatening dialogue of from like robber to like Gary that will be triggering Gary to totally disobey robber and that way like Gary would be who would have until that point would have that after like 11 had left anything like the past like until that point would have definitely and never met 11 at all. Since that might be the case, but you know the drive because like I'm saying like even after like 11 leaving Cali like until like eventually 11 might have wanted to like totally once again just casually just meet Cali and like spend time with like Cali. But like I'm doing like it might have been form of that might have thoroughly like refused to like allow 11 to do that and might not told 11 that like Cali bad influence of 11 along the line like of might have told. So like I'm doing that way that threat of like of to like Cali that would be feeling as that alone like resulting in like Cali who as well might have totally known of from 11 after all the time passing like even deciding to like totally disobey proper and basically go up to Hawkins and at that point itself God seeing Hawkins and meet 11. Uh, uh, like the scenario that I'm doing and that that return of bacteria and like the robber gang put down and to like the now Hawkins eventually ending up with like them either running into like 11 or like I'm bring like Cali by then by like the person like maybe Cali's powers of wealth might have developed to the point of like Cali as well maybe being able to access like the dark world and being uh, able to like see locate 11 of the dark world. It's like the of movies that I'm so like I'm thinking like over the course of like the previous year like I'm thinking like Cali uh, might have like probably decided might have felt that basically it might be better if like Cali stays uh, if that distance from like 11 like if that's what like 11 wants to get out like Cali might have decided so yeah like I'm looking like might have been that first relation from Cali to like 11 so like I'm certain due to that like maybe like over the course of the past year like at multiple occasions like Cali might have like the dark void and like see what like 11 was like up to and basically it might have been even happy for like 11 for like the reuniting and basically be like living happily with like Mike and friends and everything might be also the case that we were so that way I'm thinking maybe by accessing like the person like implementing such a scenario like Tally by accessing like the uh, through the dark word like Tally from the also see that the element is like being in like C. So like maybe either that or like implementing either the threatening by pop-up. That way I'm also different like the threatening by pop-up on towards like Tally coupled with like Tally while accessing the dark word and searching for like and finding 11 in that trouble kind of like situation, like resulting in like carrying around the floor or carrying like quickly rushing towards that roll out in like pockets and basically that way like I'm like doing the scenario being like it's being carried that would be like saving 11 from like the minimize players like the by using the attempting to take control and it's like the scenario that and that way, like considering my mentioned that like the mini mind player like getting taken out and eliminated by like the combined telekinesis attack of like Cali and 11 is like doing scenarios that are sitting on the left. Right? So my impression, according to my impression, was interesting like for like that way Cali would be like eventually ending up being like the person to like save 11 from like the mind player and to take out like the mini mind player like I'm the even at that point I'm the different like even after that like I'm like hop up with the phone is struggling to that to actually show that like to actually be created towards like carry. So only due to that from a Hopper's point of view that Hopper is seriously not wanting that carry to that influence 11 and basically to that change 11 once again that implement the line that Hopper to be only feeling that upward fear and that affecting in that Hopper still even after that like carry will be in the house on the that Hopper alone like acting in like an extremely indifferent manner towards like carry. So like during the scenario that is the project and I'm not attention. So like but name number 3 right now also like even after like this they are being like CCTV cameras which I think can sense movements and automatically turns on after like movements in like for enough energy laboratory, which I think had resulted in like that Russian spy agent like basically attacking Hopper in like the shutdown energy laboratory of that like the fact that like the Russian folks like basically have in like the website of spring things and basically like done all of that the French has decision. Yes, like the fact that like the in like the person in like the elevator leading to that what could be most likely like that stealthy person underground energy laboratory within like the more like pockets like the spring things like the fact that still uh even in like the elevator leading to that secret energy laboratory like there being absolutely no CCTV at all. So definitely I'm also bring that right now. Robin and Steve and Dustin and all of them would be conveniently most likely would be hiding in those boxes is definitely my very impression. So I believe that way that's solely due to like the presence of I mean like the absence of like CCTV camera like the elevator leading to like that person location, which might be most likely like that person cannot be laboratory like the more like basically I'm looking for that right now. The team of that Robin, Steve, as well as Justin and Karika managing to like infiltrate into that person cannot be laboratory injection one thing popping might be is like the scenario that I'm looking for. Yes, like for the difference and totally different like Steve as well as Justin like I'm looking like totally Steve was likely getting something and basically uh and that of the taking like Steve as well as Justin right now itself like 2011 so different getting captured and basically be by like what supposed when being put into like in kind of like situation in that location which might be like the secret underground kind of the level of that what supposed might be the case yeah like I'm doing like even at that point Uncle different is boss like both Rick as well as Robin I know still managing to that stated while Steven does will be getting captured and do like an consideration like in our letter and that way like with that as well stealth like a Robin as well as like Erika planning team that planning to like pursue and save Steven does like bring the scenario that I'm going again definitely the renewable out of create delay like like definitely since like Robin can speak question like a bit but definitely like talking about like Robin like totally like most likely like taking up like one of like the person worker and everything like Robin like only putting on the side of like the one of like the person worker and immediately only taking advantage of like the fact that like Robin can speak question uh kind of actually like the scenario that I'm different. While according to that way, like according to like Robin and Erika, like Robin would be telling Stealthy tries to fancy like Erika, and that way like I'm different. Like Erika as well would be like playing a major role and in like just like an infiltration to like destroy like the plans of like the is like the and feel like free and the capture and see is like the scenario that I'm going to bring in. So that the human brain looks right now that is the around my and my that the water all seen when like my candles like have like locked deleted like persona might be like that of the situation the demons together. So definitely I'm considering that way, like I'm considering like just like right now I'm considering like a sudden revelation happening to like my candles that usually that means response like the situation of like I think like after second like Philly's situation like of like persona really getting affected by the persona not being connected like basically that such a revelation I'm different right now happening for like my candles and that's like the scenario that I'm different and like that way like I'm different like them for realizing that basically in the case of like the mini mind flare that basically it's totally different from like the original mind flare where like while taking control like there's absolutely no connectivity between like the individuals that like the mind flare takes control on. So get along the lines on the different like might right now is definitely figuring it out. It's overtly religion and that way like I'm different like might also coming to maybe like the conclusion that maybe so that since the such a difference that the and other might also come to the conclusion that that way the mini mind flare might not be as strong as like the actual person giant mind flare like the parasite and hence like maybe like the mini mind flare like even while controlling Billy and Heather might still not be able to like see what Billy sees and feels what Billy feels. Might be also like the case will be along the lines of like the conclusion of like a possibility that might will become down the so for at least the 300 right now. Might be due to like maybe like when Steve might have secretly asked Robin out on a date, like maybe that Robin might have felt that they that like Steve was only asking Robin out on a date solely due to like Steve not being able to like get a date with like anybody else. Uh, might it's like one possibility that I'm or like I'm thinking like Robin might have felt that Robin might have said or heard like the uh the secret interaction between like Steve and Dustin where like Dustin might have probably praised Robin a lot in front of Steve. So like I'm thinking maybe Robin might have felt that it leads like probably Dustin influence like that might have resulted in like Steve feeling like wanting to like say Robin and it's not like Steve it's not like Steve actually having any like genuine feelings of affection towards like Robin would be along the lines like I'm thinking like Robin might have felt yet like might have remained silent without uh, might have been like against like the of the director. So like once like Steve might have in like the middle of the night might have simply asked Robin out on a date once like the sort of situation will be over like and looking like that point like Robin might have straight away rejected like that of expectation. Might have been what might have happened depending on the and that rejection might have badly for like for Steve who might have who might definitely be not at all goes to that much rejection from the like and hence like this might be resolved with a ball like Steve some gap exchange and between containers. Which definitely might be very much and Steve might have like a lot of pent up anger within him towards like Dustin because like Steve would be totally feeling out like basically like that basically like along the lines of like basically solely due to like Dustin like basically Steve had embarrassed himself in front of like Robin. Would be along the like by asking Robin out on a date and getting rejected by Robin. Might be along the lines like with the friend like Steve would be feeling from next person and like hence like he might probably have this like extreme race within him towards like Dustin which Steve would be like keeping hidden from like Dustin even while getting angry at like Dustin will be getting keeping like the reason hidden from Dustin might be also the activity of him to wish to the feeling of the friends. So like I'm super like without like creative like I'm super like eventually Dustin and Steve due to one of their clumsiness like I'm super like but it being both I'm sitting in my friends that in being both Steve and Dustin that will be getting captured by the Russian forces and getting into like an important kind of execution and during that point I'm different like while they're just in that kind of execution situation like at that point I'm different like the plane for like one of the spin-offs these like containers which we are sitting in like we are captivity that plane like like the conversation starting off with like one of them blaming the other, and that conversation eventually ending up with like basically Steve totally eventually wending out and shouting out at like Dustin and basically blaming Dustin for like basically like Steve's like asking for like Robin for asking for a date with like Robin and like getting rejected by embarrassingly rejected by Robin. And along such lines, I'm looking like Steve at that point could be blaming Dustin. And I'm looking at that point, I'm looking at Dustin talking back towards Steve and Dustin blaming Steve back about like the past incident where like I'm looking like Dustin, I'm looking at that point, maybe even telling Steve that basically like that Maxine initially had taken quite a liking towards like Dustin, like basically that it was like Dustin was like going fine in its own way until like Dustin started to like listen to like Steve's advices on how to like deal with like Maxine and everything, and that eventually resulted in Maxine ending up becoming like Lucas's girlfriend. That will be along the lines of the friend that Dustin at that point will be blaming Steve, and like that will come up like a whole fight between like whole quarrel and fight between like Dustin and Steve happening. By the time like Robin and like Erica, Robin or Erica like will be finally most likely Robin will be like making it towards like the location where outlook at the link with Steve and Dustin has to be lecturing them. By then, like I'm looking like by the time Robin will be showing up, like I'm looking like the scenario being like a huge squad between like Steve and Dustin is like the eventual scenario that I'm looking at. The film I'm mentioned right now, then Steve's like initial sort of extreme grumpiness, like I'm looking to be most likely due to like this interaction with like Steve as well as like Robin might have had in like the previous night where like during that interaction while Dustin and Erica were like sleeping, which like Steve had revealed like usually in actuality what might have happened during that interaction between like Steve and Robin in like the middle of the night might have been that Steve might have like Dustin's words might have totally um, ended up resulting in like Steve maybe starting to like feel um, have feelings of like affection towards like Robin. So like I'm wondering that might have resulted in like Steve in like the middle of the night, like while Dustin and Erica might have been sleeping, like considering like Steve might have asked Robin out on a date once like all this will be over. It might have been what might have happened is definitely not very much, and Robin might have rejected Steve. It's definitely my better ambition as for what might happen, and it might have been since that point on that like Steve might have felt this like might have had this like extreme grumpiness might be like that sort of situation about which like not even Dustin no Erica might be aware of. It's definitely my prevention like definitely absolutely my prevention that like Robin definitely take down would be genuinely having feelings of affection towards like Steve, but like I'm preparing definitely Robin might be totally having like proper valid reasons for like fundamental prevention, most likely having rejected like Steve's perhaps want to date to like Robin, and that might be so that definitely right now is definitely for like neither Nancy Jones and finding Tom like the father and like the boss Tom and like the profit like the scenario that I'm looking at. Definitely I'm looking like it might be due to like even finding out about like Billy being controlled by like a mini mind player. So definitely they Billy might have reported that to like the up like the fight against like 11 like Billy might have reported that to like the mind player. They might have that I'm sitting on this definitely that especially with like the two of that point asking Billy if it was it she like this was it her, like basically that would definitely lead you to that the mind player not be the mini mind player considering the member having that limitations and like definitely even while like you took score as well as like Billy like getting affected like exactly during like the same time of like around my game like that as well. I'm totally might be definitely share points of might be like the actuality of the situation, especially when the ambition. So definitely like I'm still thinking about the ambition that like part of like the mini mind players like power limitations like the definitely the interconnection between like the mind player as well as like the human army of like the mini mind player won't be different at all. It's definitely my preference. So like it might have been definitely Dilly alone that might have been affected like definitely and either has of nor like the remaining army human army members of like the mini mind player nor like the mind player might have at all been affected at all while Billy like Billy and while like the fight between like Billy and 11 for taking place might be like that especially when things that I'm sitting on. Yet like I'm just sitting away to friends that like what Billy sees and feels like definitely like the mind player might definitely not be able to like see and feel due to like the power limitation of the mini mind player. Especially I'm sitting in a friends that so definitely Billy might have had to like report like the things that happened to like himself to like the mind player. Mini mind player might be the case, and at that point after the that it might be only at that point that the mini mind club might have even realized that like 11 has basically realized that basically the mind player is like still presenting like the real good and basically is like still controlling humans. So definitely like so definitely solely due to this factor alone like and like the mini mind player might have straight away given like the next corner to that not Italy and the entire field it's like army of humans, which might have been definitely to that to without much great delay to that next year move on 11 to bring down 11 and take control of 11 might be the case definitely meant to bring. So like definitely the mini mind player might have like also maybe to like span their army uh, in that short time period that while not having any of its like already controlled army of humans that go back to their daily job might be along the lines of the different to stay in that column and only still venture out into like the nearby force, and basically to step in that way to only target human instead of getting like nearby force areas like and such line here on the lines of like the thought of that like and different like the mini might have given to like army training and level bring that due to this factor, it's the reason I'm totally cutting right now that once that Nancy and Jonathan would be heading to their office and basically would be like hoping to that see that Heather's father like Tom like until like them not finding him there. And I was going to Tom not showing up like the next day either and like the coming days after like it's like the scenario that and like hopefully and like uh it being the same case for like Heather as well as Billy like and like and either 11 and 3 none of them like talking see Billy or like Heather or like Tom from this point on, it's like the scenario that I'm looking at it right now, like late during like the final showdown that is to bring down like the mini mind player, which I'm slowly putting will be happening in like that showdown. Like I'm looking like it will be only at that point alone, like that I was like the next time like 11 and 19 and all that will be uh the very next time they will be even see that to lead up as well as pop and like it's like the scenario that I was putting in. So like definitely my preparation right now is definitely for like the space and like without creating like without eliminating that production worker as you will be that we do not trying to like escape on like of kind of it's like the scenario that I'm looking for and like him totally running into like production by agent and looking at that point like production by agent from this point of view would have okay you would be feeling that basically maybe totally considering like the possibility of that Russian worker definitely might be totally knowing English that so he would have totally revealed that about like the extreme secret like certain exploits and everything to offer would be along the lines and between that the Russian spy agents would be totally straight away assuming so that definitely I'm trying to silence that the Russian worker like and straight away that the Russian spy agent like at that point straight away that without anything about like straight away eliminating that the Russian worker is like the scenario that I'm doing. And seeing that at that point because like chasing Hopper as well as Joe is like shortly seeing like all this and everything like Hopper and Joe straight away running like the opposite direction and basically trying to like escape from that direction by at that point is as he will be pointing that to the summit like Hopper next is like the scenario that I'm so that way like at that point I'm just trying like the Russian by like keeping on walking and like right as he will be keeping on walking like I'm just trying at that point like suddenly that the Russian blocker like grabbing on to like the feet of like that by and will be begging him to like save like the will be begging him to like save like the Russian worker and he will be telling like the Russian spy agent that basically 11 is like alive because like the next particular my information that like during that whole while that Russian worker was in like was basically like when Hopper and Joe were like talking about like while Hopper was like during that Hopper and Joe interaction Illinois interaction like during like during that point, like what might have happened might have been definitely Hopper revealing to like those as to like why he wants to like go to like Illinois as to like really the as to like carry in that has two carriers and basically connecting to like 11 traveling like the fast and the carry and the carriers will have seen put up out the flat of 11 and meeting a maker of all this like a different information that like offer at that point might have actually revealed to casually revealed to like Joyce and definitely might be since then that I'm whispering that Rus.Worker who have actually saved Hopper like while that Hopper comes and like about to go up that is that very same Rus.Worker right now trying to like escape from that Hopper and Joyce would be sadly due to this fact right on that reflecting gaining that social information about like 11 survival, not only about 11 survival, but also about like they are gain another exact like 11 survival in carrier. So that's it about like so this might be the sort of reconstruction ambition. So like that way, like I was different like the that way I'm so different for like that much of like grabbing onto like the neck of the Russian pilot and then like would be begging him to like save him and would be telling him that basically the that like 11 is like alive and basically that like just one more pilot in reality. And like he knows will be along the lines of like him would be totally dealing to like the Russian spy agent and only like him to like save. But like I'm at that point, like the Russian spy agent like totally dealing him that won't be saving him and then he will be going to straight away chasing after like hop and like would be of like the mindset of like literally if like if what like that Russian worker said is actually just open it and basically it's not something he has said to like get himself saved like then like definitely like the Russian spy agent would just think the positive like what he said something to so like definitely like the Russian spy agent that with even more intensity like basically chasing after like Hopper and Joyce at that point is like the scenario that I'm looking like to totally capture Hopper and for capturing Hopper like through Hopper like the spy agent might be able to like make it towards that point it's 11 be along the lines like the spy agent if you think definitely at that point is like the scenario that I'm looking for sorry due to like definitely the spy agent at that point is totally think that they will be so it might have been definitely while like something was like taken positive that he might have already found out this lack of related information would be along the line few of the things so like either hop up or that woman along with like those like easily would be knowing where 11 is will be along the line like correction bias and food and so like that way like correction bias and with like the intensity like even with this like something like that basically still pushing through and trying to like make it towards like trying to like gather to like hopper and those like within our that I'm referring yet like I'm different like hopper and those and like during this time I'm different like a wild animal that was like I'm like a wild animal by sheer points like I'm different like wild animal like totally attacking like the Russian spy agent is like the scenario that I'm explaining. I mean that quite like I'm feeling like the Russian spy agent still surviving but like taking even more of like a great injury which ending up really slowing down like the moment of like the Russian spy agent is like as well as simultaneously enable like the team of like Hopper and those to be able to like get away from like the Russian spy agent and like them like Hopper and those making it finally making it to like the roads and those from there like them only could leave making it to like taking a bus and to Illinois and leaving to like Illinois with like that I'm also delivering. So like yeah, like I'm going like the Russian spy agent, like I'm like him with that bad injury, like I'm like him slowly going towards like trying to like make it towards like Sarov and basically he will be totally feeling that basically the situation actually won't be able to like cater to like offer and do so. It's really focus on just trying to like instead of chasing after like offer and do and like the pop like be focusing on trying to make it to like the road and basically at that point to like try to like catch a bus to like it would be about like like in, at that point would be totally attending his like good scenario that I would play. But like I'm looking as like sort of agent would be making it towards like the road like I'm looking at that point I'm looking by then like it would be okay my time especially the scenario that we're looking at. At that point, I was reacting by sheer points of what ending up at like a location that where extremely close to where that go down, where like the shadow, mini shadow monsters like basically like the synapse that it was with. So like they are like I'm preferring like the him totally spotting that go down and like correction by deciding to like step for a bit in that corner uh, to get himself fixed before like possibly hoping to like find something of like a positive to like totally get himself like fixed before like heading off to like it would be along the lines of the like the by would be probably taking the risk and entering that drawdown and basically straight away like I'm doing like the mini shadow monster like capturing and dragging it to deep into like that drawdown and basically that way like that strong and powerful and skilled by agents as well like only ending up being under like the control of like the mini mind player like the scenario that I'm looking for and that like the spreading of like the mini mind player resulting in like I'm looking for like the already strong like Russian spy is like strength even increasing to a great extent even more disconnecting the scenario seven with the delivering and friends. Where like really continuous information delivering really who might be until that point might be like the strongest like member in like the human army of like the minimum player like and different like him getting and surpassing strength by like the Russian spy agent who would be at that point under like the control once like Russian spy agent would be getting controlled by like the minimum player. It's like even the scenario that I'm delivering and we would be able